Hello again. Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. This is the recap of episode 6 of Willow, Prisoners of Skellen. This recap and review, okay. For those that saw my review of episode 5, for that episode, I was rather disappointed, unfortunately. This episode brought me right back. Okay. So, at the very end of episode 5, spoilers. I know I sometimes do that, it's intermittently, but with a recap, anything that includes a recap, you should expect spoilers anyways, but heavy spoilers down the line for my review of this one, recap and review. So this episode picks up immediately where the last one left off. We have Kit and Willow as prisoners of the trolls. And from here, the rest of the group launches a rescue mission. And we also have a newcomer to the cast, one Allagash, played by Christian Slater. I know I zonked out on that name. Played by Christian Slater, which honestly, I really did like his addition to the cast here. But anyways, Allagash has information pertaining to one of the most mysterious characters of the series so far. I say mysterious, in terms of what happened to them, and that is, of course, Madmartigan. So, Borman, we know that Borman was connected to Madmartigan on his quest for the Chimerian Cuirass, and we know that something happened in that journey that was painful and shameful for Borman. So for this type of character who injects a lot of levity into a lot of his sort of dealings, for him to openly state that he wants to fix something that he believes that he contributed to going wrong with Madmartigan, with their quest. He thinks that he was chiefly responsible for something that went wrong in their quest for the Chimerian Cuirass, and he wants to make up for it. And so with this, this episode, So, recap, they go to the mines, they are captured by trolls. We see that the trolls have they've morphed into something more than we saw in the film. I know a lot of people are going to say oh no, they're not supposed to talk because they didn't talk in the movie. They explain that, y'all, okay? The whole purpose of the mine is to gather resources and to use the prisoners in order to make some very strange, malevolent elixir that changes them. It pulled a Planet of the Apes where it actually cerebrally evolved them to something a little bit much more intelligent and much more threatening to anybody not a troll. So anyways, so they go to the mines, they learn more about Madmartigan and what possibly happened to him and why he disappeared. But we also learn more about the dynamics of this changing landscape. So the world has been changing a lot since the film, and the trolls are now more of a threat, and they are unofficial minions, if not just outright collaborators of the Withered Crone. One of the characters describes her as an eldritch nightmare. I like that. I like when the script does a decent job of description. So, this episode felt the most complete. It felt like it had the best editing so far. It felt like the script didn't leave a lot of room for improv. I think that's because a lot of the improv that the cast has been doing, sporadically throughout the shoot was usually done for the purposes of comedy, and this is not a comedy. This is not a funny episode. They're not going for a lot of laughs. There's a few jokes here and there at the very beginning, but the more they go into trying to find the secrets of the trolls, what they're doing, and what happened to Mad Mardigan. The deeper they go into this, the more the more serious it becomes. And I feel that this is probably what a lot of fans have been sort of like feelings of, like, because you do feel the weight of the seriousness of not just the events of the episode itself, but what has been happening. The world is changing, and it's not for the better. If only, like, it seems that while the people of Tir Asleen have been living fairly comfortably under a magical protection dome, that the rest of the world has been getting worse and worse. The crone and her forces have been gathering in strength. But outside, in the peripheral view of anybody who is like interested in possibly, resisting her or her forces. So like I said, we learn, like, one of the things I really do like about this, and it's sort of like you're seeing it episode per episode. The first 2 episodes provided us our foundation. Third episode, we're learning a lot more about Allura Dannon. Fourth episode, we learn about Silas. We learn about Borman and Graydon. The last episode we learned about Joe, like, everybody, like, now I sort of like see this as like stones in the wall. Like, everybody has their part to play. And in the Whispers of Nockmaar, we don't just learn like more about Allura's purpose and her destiny. We learn also about the lineage of Kit and her family, as well as Jade. And that builds on, like, I will say this. I like how every single episode builds upon the last in terms of the character focus and finding out more and more about these characters. I really do appreciate that. This was, I think we're about 2 episodes out from episode 6. I believe we are 2 episodes out, because I don't see them wrapping things up in 1 episode. But I believe season 1 only has like 8. And I want to see more of, like, this story. But, like, this episode, I feel, was production wise, I think it's actually been the best so far. This thus far is a contender for my favorite episode of this season of Willow. So I think that a lot of it just had to do, like, even though there wasn't a lot of action, it wasn't particularly action heavy film, there was still a lot of momentum, because the more that they learned, okay, so when they were captured by the trolls tell them their plans, essentially. They're telling them plans, their affiliation with the crone, and when the rest of the group goes to rescue them, we learn more about Borman's story, and there's so much movement as we learn. There's not really a settling point where things slow down and we just kind of get locked in the doldrums of anything happening narratively. It moves. Like, with every bit that we learn about our characters in this episode, it moves. And as I mentioned before, it also feels like this one had the best editing and direction and script. There wasn't a whole lot of time to just kind of let the cast have fun and fool around and just try to make, like, quippy jokes and things like that. There were still I'd say, like, the front end, there was a few jokes, like, here and there, but the more that they progressed into the minds, the more they progressed into the story, there was less opportunity for that, because you're not when you're supposed to be taking things seriously, you don't need that humor. Like maybe cathartic after an event has happened, but in the moment where, the characters and the audience are supposed to be taking things seriously, okay, you kind of just need to wait, hold up, pump the brakes on cracking jokes or being humorous, And this felt like it was the best mixture of all of these different strengths that we've seen part and parcel with the previous episodes, because we do have a good cast. There are good jokes that happen here that do try to, like, keep it light to where it doesn't, not everything has to be very grim and serious. And I appreciate that, for this particular type of, like, fantasy setting. Yeah, but like they're exciting, and like all of these different like elements that you saw kind of in varying levels of these previous episodes, you get a lot more here, and it's really sort of like balanced out particularly well. So, and this episode ends on a cliffhanger, and you can kind of say like, okay, like for the character that is in danger, yeah, she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be absolutely fine. I mean, she's wearing 10 layers of plot armor, We also catch up with Eric at the very end of the episode. He's marooned in the immemorial city, and he finds someone who turns Eric into like a Looney Tunes wolf character. It's like eyes bugging out, jaw like, oh my god. Like the first time he's ever seen an attractive woman, you get like he turns into a Chuck Jones character. And okay, before anyone says like maybe magic is involved, but we already know that Eric is a tomcat, so I mean it's like, what was that? What was the name of that girl back in Tiris Lean? Parrot, pigeon. What was her name? Wait. Hawk? No. Blue Jay? I don't know. Some with wings. I don't know, but man, like, hey, what you got going on here? How long have you been here? Type thing. Like it's like he's been struck by the thunderbolt, and maybe magic is involved. Like maybe okay, maybe she has an enchantment or some sort of like other magic. To be honest, I think it's kind of like obvious, like where she is. She's either and I'm just gonna put this is a theory. So what people say, like if it turns out to be true, people say, oh, that was a spoiler. Why'd you do that movie, Ninja? I am not anticipating this 100%, but I think there is a very, 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 very strong possibility that this young woman that appears to be a prisoner is either the crone or another powerful acolyte of the crone. And she's trying to charm Eric for some. They already have him. So, I mean, like, what else they need to do with him? I don't know. But just like, okay. I am predicting that she is the crone, and she's going to use Eric somehow, possibly, because it does look like she is imprisoned. And I believe that she will use him to free herself, like the evil genie in the bottle, the Dybbuk and the Dybbuk box or whatever. She is going to try to find Eric to free her in some way. So yeah, so this is like, yeah, we're not at the end of the season yet. I believe we still have about 1, possibly 2 episodes yet. And yeah, but this is a top contender. This feels like if more of the series had just the balance of all the different elements that this episode has, then I think that it would have been much. It really would have like boosted it up like there, because like yeah, I've been watching it. I've been like. I'm the type of person that I am not a completionist in the sense of like, okay, this is boring me, or I just generally just don't like this, like whatever this might be, and it could be like any genre. It could be like drama, comedy, action, sci-fi, like whatever it is, if I'm getting like so far like into that, like 15 minutes or like 20 minutes or something like that. If I find something just unbearable, I just don't stick with it. Hey, you only live once. So, I mean, just like, why bother? Just like, okay. But this episode, I really feel was like a boost. It's like, right, because you can feel it. Plot-wise, you can feel like, well, okay, we're in the middle of the Rising action. And so for the next 2 episodes, past this, I am predicting that things are going to move a lot quicker You know, I have a feeling that the season finale in and of itself will be a cliffhanger, as a way to possibly gauge audience interest and to bring forth some type of demand. And it's just because like most of these episodes so far have been cliffhangers. They've ended on cliffhangers. So yeah, but also like it just felt. It's like, yeah, like pretty much this is a flip flop. This is the exact opposite of the last episode, and yeah. So I mean, just like I'm ready to see where we go from here, because like their escape from the mines was not without sacrifice. It was not without loss of like in certain instances. So yeah, this was their equivalent of trying to escape the mines of Moria. Like, okay, there's no... that's terrible. I don't really, like, prop myself up as, like, a fantasy nerd, but I should know, like, it's the most famous monster in that whole, like, trilogy. Pardon? Okay, Balrog. There we go. Okay. Like... Okay, there's no Balrog. There's no like big bad thing that they have to outrun or anything like that necessarily. Well, there kind of is, but it's a bit nuanced. But like still, there's no rolling boulder. There's no giant monster that they have to escape from. But like the way that they get out of the mines is not without peril. So leading into this next episode, I'm hoping. I hope we don't have too many hills and valleys. Like we have like a really strong moving pace in one episode, and then the next episode is like sort of like, it's very mellow. Like it's happened kind of here and there up until this point, but I don't feel that it would be good for the plot to have a meandering, a sort of like a meditative episode, kind of like they had in Into the Wildwood. Not memorable. What can I say? So yeah. So where we are as of right now, I think we're in a strong position. Like I think this was one of the best episodes that they've had this season, and I look forward to episode 7. So thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. Have you guys seen the episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.